SD Productions presents Minimum Wage Sentai by Stephen Bove. Read to you by the author. Chapter 2. They're back. Oh, Jason, stop fidgeting. The people love you. You've got this election in a landslide, said a white woman with brown hair and a winning complexion. The woman was helping an attractive man tie a red tie around his neck. Kim, you know I'm always nervous about public speaking, Jason said as he looked into the mirror at himself. The two were in one of the many bathrooms of the White House. I don't know how any president gave speeches without prompters. Hell, even a stuttering moron could give a clear and intelligent speech with one of those. Right, Walter? Asked Jason, and a man outside of the bathroom, who was a member of the Secret Service, replied loud enough for the two to hear him, but not loud enough for any of the house guests to hear him. Yes, Mr. President, replied Walter. Thank you, Walter, replied the president. You're welcome, sir, replied Walt. Walter didn't look it, but he could kill an entire army of soldiers by himself. He was actually trained by Zordon, the same way Jason, Kim, and William were. The crystal just rejected him because he was too old. But he was still determined to fight, and he learned it all. Eventually, a new crystal was made just for him. He became the White Fighter. He didn't last long before wanting to join the real world, but he was, and still is, unstoppable. President Jason Tanner was due at a speech for his supporters in just 1 hour. He had one of the highest approval ratings of any president. People were even talking about vetoing the law set in place by Theodore Roosevelt, making it only possible for a president to run for 2 terms. He was running against a man who looked like one of the candy-making midgets from the movie about a kid that gets a tour of a chocolate factory by Gene Wilder. This man was so full of himself, he was even quoted saying that he could kill a person, and his approval ratings wouldn't even go down. He only had, maybe if he was lucky, 1% of the people backing him. He was more of a clown than a nominee. Honey, there is no way you could lose to that clown. Why be so nervous? Asked his wife, who was a former pink fighter, and whose name was Kimberly Ocean, but it was now Kimberly Tanner. Running against a fool doesn't mean I don't have stage fright, said Jason as he checked his handcuffs. They were solid gold with a symbol of a T-Rex on it. You're the most powerful man in the world. What's there to be afraid of a crowd full of people? Asked Kim as she then sat down and checked her own image in the mirror. Kimberly wore a pink satin dress, which covered her shoulders and went down past her knees. The two both wore what looked like silver watches on their wrists. These were Bluetooth communicators attached to their smartphones. All the fighters wore them. It was given to them by Zordon. The design was stolen by a man named Jobs, who hacked them and used them to sell overpriced, cheaply made goods. Well, all the fighters but one wore them. William Hawkins gave his over to a man named Gates, so the products Jobs stole could be sold to the masses and not cost them an arm and a leg. Also, the products wouldn't break after a week of use. When offered to have what was left of the watch back, Hawkins told him to keep it. The only thing people were not allowed to have were silver versions of the watches. They were only for fighters. Thousands of miles away on the other side of the country, Trini Binks was about to go on stage for one of her many sold-out concerts. Trini was of Asian descent and was actually once married to the black fighter, Zachary. Miss Binks, shouted the man as he walked up behind her. It was a scrawny young boy. What, you want an autograph? Asked Trini as she turned around and her bodyguard stepped between them. You've been served. And he handed her a yellow envelope. Inside it lied legal papers from her former husband. Trini took the envelope and opened it. Ah, damn, he's suing me for more money. I tell you, Kevin. And she slapped the paper towards her bodyguard, a 7-foot-tall, muscular African-American man. Don't ever get married. I'm Jeff, ma'am. Kevin is white and about, said the man as he took the paper and made a hand gesture to show how tall this Kevin was. Yeah, you're black, you're tall, congratulations, said Trini as she took the microphone and went to sing on stage. She then turned around and walked back up to Jeff. I'm sorry, Jeff. That was very rude of me. You know how Zach makes me feel. I just want to take one of my old daggers and drag it across his worthless fat neck of his. Why is he suing you anyways? Asked Jeff. He's your agent. He wants even more of my said Trini as she turned her mic on. Test, said Trini, to which her sound check man gave her a thumbs up. Let's rock it, said Trini with a smile as she ran onto the stage to be greeted by a cheering crowd. Miles down the road in the cemetery, William Hawkins stood in front of a grave, which read, Thomas Hawkins on it. Hey, Tommy, said William as he stood in front of the grave of his older brother. Sorry I haven't been by lately. Can't believe it's been 20 years. You were the real hero that day, he continued as he then bent down and placed a bushel of flowers in front of the stone. William then picked some weeds off from around the stone and tossed them aside. Mom sends her regards. Well, I guess she does. She still blames me for your death. She even told me once you should have left me, like I told you to. But at least last year she acknowledged my existence and sent me a book-faced message on my birthday. William then sat in front of the grave and rested his back against the back of another tombstone. You still like me, though. So hey, at least I got that much going for me. He laughed as he smiled. As he sat, Hawkins lowered the dark green baseball hat from his job over his eyes, hiding them from the sun. Yeah, at least I have that, he said softly as he drifted off into a light sleep. He never reached REM sleep, and the groundskeepers didn't bother him. They knew him and what he did for the planet. Miles and miles away in the North Pacific, the current batch of fighters were doing recon missions, traveling around the night sky preparing for any attack that would come their way. They were prepared for almost any attack, human or alien. Okay, team, let's try maneuver 3, said the leader, who was the late 20s Native American female. You got it, Amber, replied the pink fighter, a young African man who was trying to rise through the ranks and prove himself worthy of being the next red fighter, the leader of the group. Amber was going off to Harvard Law College in the fall. Stop being a kiss-ass, Pinky, said a voice over the intercom. If Zordon likes you for the job, you'll get it. It was a young Italian man from New Jersey, whose name was Francis, but people called him Frankie. He was the current black fighter. Guys, we're live on TV, said a young female voice. This was Megan, a young white girl from the southern point of England. She was the current blue fighter. So, you can say ass on TV. You can only not say 7 words, replied Frankie. Shall I recite them? To which all 8 fighters all replied with thunderous noise. No. Touchy, touchy, said Frankie as he went to join his team on the maneuver. But then his control panel died. Guys? My monitor just turned off, said Frankie as he hit his panel trying to make it turn back on. What did you do? Asked Amber. Ha! Take that, bitch! Shouted as he laughed at Francis' predicament. Then his screen died as well. All the screens died. Guys, we've lost control, said Amber. We're going down! Shouted a voice to the current purple fighter. All the machines fell towards the freezing ocean, then crashed into them. Sadly, the ejector seat switch wouldn't open. All 8 of the lives were lost live on television. Then, over the crash site, a large shadow appeared.